نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد. We have reached verse 10 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Prior to this, the description of a third category of people was started, and they were presented as those who say they have Iman, but in reality they do not. And the first attribute of these people was that يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They attempt to deceive Allah and all the believers. In reality, they do not deceive anyone but themselves, and they don't even realize it. Now the next description is given, and this is possibly giving the root cause of what the problem is based in. What are the roots of the problem in? فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٍ. In their hearts is an ailment. Now marad, as defined by, as I can say globally, defined by physicians, historically and contemporarily, is when there is an imbalance of something that results in a state of unwellness, when things are not functioning properly. So, for something to be functioning properly, in medical lingo it's called homeostasis. Things are running the way they should be. Anything that disrupts the homeostasis, the state of homeostasis, is going to be looked at as some form of ailment, some form of sickness, and then they will look at, where is this coming from? Is it coming from some external source, internal source? Is it local to a certain part of the body? Is it more holistic, it's affecting the whole body? What exactly is it? And they'll start going into the different types of pathologies. So there is an agreement that marad is when there is some kind of an imbalance, when things are not functioning the way that they normally would. What that tells us is that if the heart is functioning, and we're not talking from a physiological perspective, but rather a spiritual perspective, when a heart is functioning spiritually the way it normally would, then there would be a natural inclination towards guidance. The person would be upright in their character, and they would be displaying a certain type of behavior consistently. This ailment is disrupting that. It is preventing the heart from functioning properly. فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٍ. Within their hearts is an ailment, there is a sickness. And what has happened is that sickness has increased, not on its own, not just by itself, but فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has increased their sickness. Now, if somebody is sick, shouldn't the person who is in a position to treat them and remedy them? Why has their sickness been increased? If somebody went to a doctor and said, I am sick, the doctor would not do something that would, deliberately and intentionally, they would not do something that would amplify and increase that sickness. They would do the opposite. So what is the issue here? Well, the first thing is that these people have chosen to remain in a state of confusion and doubt, or in a state of disbelief. They've chosen it. The hypocrites were people who had the chance to believe. They had spent time with believers as well, but they chose not to be one of them from inside. So which marad, which ailment is afflicting their hearts? Many mufassirin have mentioned that this ailment is the ailment of doubt. في قلوبهم مرض أي في قلوبهم شك. In their hearts is shak. And shak is called the marad because it leads to a state of unwellness. Now this is not shak when you're verifying something and you still need to verify it a little bit more. No, this is a person who deliberately plays on the border, on the edge. They are neither here nor there. The Quran in one place describes them مُذَبْذَبِينَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ لَا إِلَى هَؤُلَاء وَلَا إِلَى هَؤُلَاء. They choose to, like we would say, stay on the fence. One of my teachers in junior high school used to say, in encouraging youngsters to make up their mind and not stay in a state of limbo, he said, don't sit on top of a picket fence and then expect me to make you feel comfortable. But these people choose to stay on top of that fence. They are undecided because they're constantly trying to weigh advantages versus disadvantages. So these are people of an opportunistic tendency. Where are there more opportunities for some kind of worldly gain? Whether that means an increase in reputation, whether that means stronger financial foundation, or it means more allies, or it means power. They're constantly in this cycle of trying to weigh advantages against disadvantages. So they say, you know what, it's better to play it safe, just stay right in the middle. So then the shak here is only the tip of the iceberg. Those mufassirin that have said marad is shak, it is correct. But shak is just one of the symptoms of this disease. The disease is rooted in something deeper. And oftentimes we give, even in modern medicine, we give the disease the name of the symptom of the disease. I'll give you an example. Anything that has itis in it, it's referring to an inflammation. Somebody has sinusitis. Now, saying that someone has sinusitis is not a diagnosis of an actual disease. It's actually stating the condition of their sinuses. Their sinuses are inflamed. And all these itises, bronchitis, laryngitis, all the itises, it's just an inflammation. So yes, that is the current state of that part of the body, of that organ. Is that by itself a disease? Oh, there's something causing it. This is the symptom of the disease. Oh, I have bronchitis. You know what? Bronchitis is a really unpleasant state to be in. But if someone just says, oh, they have bronchitis, so that means we just have to decrease the inflammation. Oh, so give them something that decreases the inflammation. If you were trying to cure somebody's bronchitis like that, you would not be able to cure it. You would be able to control some of the symptoms. So, shak is the symptom, but inside, where is that shak coming from? It's coming from choices and decisions. It's coming from intentions. It's coming from motives. These people have ulterior motives, and because of those ulterior motives, they're constantly shifting. They're constantly observing that playground or that battleground that they are playing in or battling in. Where are the odds? So, remember how when talking about nifaq, how talked about the field mouse going in from one hole and then it's going to burrow its way out, but you don't know where it's going to emerge. That's the game that these people are playing all the time. So then, their disease is not something that is caused by external factors that they have nothing, they have no resistance against. No. Their disease is actually self-induced. They have put themselves in that position where they are not taking anything seriously, including their own creator. They're not taking dunya seriously or akhirah seriously. They're not taking their creator seriously. They're not taking the prophet seriously. And they're not taking the implications of that seriously. As long as they can put up this act where people are convinced that they're good with them, then it doesn't matter if those people are on this side or those people are on that side. As long as everyone is happy and their interests are being met from both sides, these people are content and satisfied. So that is the root of this uncertainty. And because it is deliberate, it is by their own volition that they choose to be like that. Nothing compels them to be like that. As a punishment of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases that disease. So with time they become more and more bewildered. And their state of unrest and discontentment continues to increase. Their restlessness will continue to increase. And as a result, the actions that they do, the unpredictable actions that they're doing, they will also increase. The intensity of those actions will also increase. I mentioned to you briefly that these people came into existence after the Battle of Badr. So look at how things escalate. Just to give you an idea of فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. The first major battle after the Battle of Badr was Uhud. Now, in Uhud, by the time Uhud came around, Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, who was Ra'sul Munafiqeen, the chief of the Munafiqeen, we spoke a little bit about him in the last session. He had brought hundreds of people to the battlefield. These were his followers. Some narrations mentioned there were 300 such people. Some narrations mentioned 400 some people. That made up a major portion of the Muslims' army. Abdullah ibn Ubay goes in with a view that we need to stay in Medina and protect Medina, we shouldn't go out. Many other people also had this view. Many senior Sahaba also had this view. But there were other Sahaba who had missed out on the opportunity of Badr, and they felt that they should go into the battlefield and so on and so forth. So they continued to give their opinion, and finally the Prophet ﷺ agreed to it. And when Abdullah ibn Ubay saw that he hasn't made the decision based on my opinion, he walked out. He took all of those hundreds of men and he walked out. Army was ready, it was just a matter of deciding where we're going to fight. So why would he do that? He felt that first of all, my due respect wasn't given to my view. And secondly, these guys are going to get whipped. I don't want to have anything to do with it. So there they pulled out, and whatever happened in Uhud happened. Did it stop there? Absolutely not. It escalated. In the Battle of Khandaq, the Battle of Ahzab, these people had not just pulled out, but they had now partnered up with all of these tribes to carry out an attack against the Muslims. They had facilitated that attack against Medina. So you see how things escalate. فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. And at every step it got worse and worse and worse. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also dealt with them. Someone might ask the question that why didn't the Prophet ﷺ just deal with them and get rid of them? They caused so much trouble. The Battle of Tabuk, how much trouble they caused. لا تنفروا في الحر. Don't go out, it's too hot. They did all kinds of things to derail every mission, every objective, every step. They were constantly there. The Prophet ﷺ, in some cases, knew who they were. In one narration it's mentioned that he divulged this to Hudayfah ibn al-Yaman radiyallahu anhu, the names of the munafiqeen. Some ulama have said, based on narrations, that Nabi ﷺ did not have an exhaustive list of all the munafiqeen. He did know some of them. In that particular narration at the time of Tabuk, these people had plotted, because the Prophet ﷺ took the Muslims out anyways, so they said, okay, while he's traveling at night, we are going to go and do something to his camel to make it stampede, to make it panic, to make it kick up, so he falls off and gets hurt. This is the kind of stuff they were doing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent wahi to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that these are the people, this is what they're going to do, and there were 14 of them. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam divulged this information to Hudayfah ibn al-Yaman radiyallahu anhu, and they were able to avoid that incident, looking out for those people, for those 14 people. But in some cases, the Prophet ﷺ did not know who they were. The Quran says, وَمِمَّنْ حَوْلَكُمْ مِنَ الْأَعْرَابِ مُنَافِقُونَ وَمِنْ أَهْلِ الْمَدِينَةِ مَرَضُوا عَلَى النِّفَاقِ لَا تَعْلَمُهُمْ نَحْنُ نَعْلَمُهُمْ. There are others that you don't know about, but we know about them. Quran is saying. So it means the Prophet ﷺ did not have an exhaustive list of every single munafiq. Yes, he knew some of them, he knew some of the major ones, and those were the ones that he had conveyed to Hudayfah radiyallahu anhu. So, and it could be that over a period of time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the identity of these people to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But even those that we know that he knew about, like Abdullah ibn Ubay, the Prophet ﷺ knew about him. He did not take any action against him. When the Sahaba asked, he said, I don't want people to talk that Anna Muhammadan yaqtulu ashaba, that Muhammad ﷺ kills his companions. People outside consider them to be Muslims. If I take any steps against them, people are going to say, oh, Muhammad ﷺ is taking aggressive action against his own people. He kills his own people, even though they were not his own people. And other mufassirin have said that the Prophet ﷺ did not take this action because to teach the ummah. Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi says that Nabi ﷺ did not take action against those people because what he knew was his knowledge. It was not in the light of hard evidence that could be presented to someone else. Even though the knowledge Nabi ﷺ received was absolute. But to teach this ummah and to teach those tomorrow who would be in a position of decision making, that you never rule based on what you know. You rule based on the evidence that's presented. And thus it became an established rule in Islam, in Sharia, that a qadi, a judge who has personal knowledge, prior knowledge of a case, or of an incident, or of a person, may not rule according to that prior knowledge. They can only rule based on the evidence that's presented in front of them in that particular case at that time. That will be the only base of their decision. Subhanallah. To establish that fairness and that justice. So, coming back to the disease, the ailment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increased it. Why? Because they chose it. They chose it, and one of the rules, one of the principles that is derived from across many verses and ahadith is al-jaza'u min jins al-amal. The retribution, or you can say the punishment, the consequence is similar to the deed. The consequence is similar to the deed. Like, nasullaha fanasiyahum. They forgot Allah, so Allah forgot them. Allah didn't actually forget them, but He treated them as if they were forgotten. And as is coming up, قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ اللَّهُ يَسْتَهْزِئُ بِهِمْ. And يخادعون الله إن المنافقين يخادعون الله وهو خادعهم ومكروا ومكر الله. So when a person does a deed, then they are treated similar to the deed that they have done. So they chose this, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increased it. And for these people in akhirah is going to be a painful punishment. Now, punishment, different words have been used for punishment in the Quran. One of them is adab. And various adjectives have been used to describe adab. So, shadid, for example, azim, and alim is another one. So, alim is derived from alam, which means pain. Alim is a painful punishment. Now, though other words could have been used to describe, but the pain is being mentioned because that's what they were trying to avoid all their lives. They were trying to avoid discomfort. Or, to word it differently, they were always in search for their ease and their comfort. They were always searching for their convenience. That's what they based their decisions on. What was convenient, what was comfortable, what brought ease to them in a worldly perspective. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that, well, because all of their decisions and in fact this disease of theirs was rooted in that, so now they're going to get a punishment that is nothing but pain, nothing but anguish. Why? بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْذِبُونَ, because of the lies they used to tell. What were the lies? Well, the first lie was mentioned right here. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. They used to say that we are believers, but they weren't. They used to tell the Muslims, we are with you, but they weren't. They would pledge their support and then pulled it out. They would claim to be pious and God-fearing when they weren't. They would give false testimonies just to stir up trouble. So at every level, they were dishonest. And of course, before anyone else, they were dishonest to themselves. They were lying to themselves. That's why the Quran says, وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ. They're only deceiving themselves. They're lying to themselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us. The more we unpack these attributes of people, remember the Quran is speaking to us. This is not a history book to tell us about people of the past. The Quran is speaking to us. And even though it's talking about people that, inshallah, we will not be from those people. But the Quran wants us to identify, to look at ourselves very closely, to see, might there be any attributes of these people inside you? O human beings, look for yourselves and study for yourselves what is inside. That's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in that hadith of Bukhari said that, look, there are 4 qualities that if somebody has them, they have 4 qualities of nifaq. They're a complete munafiq. أربع من كنا فيه كان منافقا خالصا ومن كانت فيه خصلة منهن كانت فيه خصلة من النفاق حتى يدعها. If he has all of them, he's a pure munafiq. If he has some of them, then he has an attribute of nifaq. And one of them, the first one is إذا حدث كذب. When he speaks, he lies. إذا وعد أخلف. When he promises, breaks the promise. In other words, he has no intention of fulfilling that promise. Allahu Akbar. وإذا اؤتمن خان. When he's entrusted with something, he will betray that trust. He cannot be trusted with anything. In the other riwayah, إِذَا خَاصَمَ فَجَرْ وَإِذَا عَاهَدَ غَدَرْ. When he gets into an argument, starts using abusive language, vulgar language, starts swearing and cursing and insulting the other person. So, and another meaning of fajara is that they'll start taking false oaths. Take the name of Allah and swear on this and swear on that and swear on that. These are not the qualities of believers. So anyways, they will have a painful punishment because of because of these lies that they used to tell. Now, after this, the Quran talks about 3 things that are told to them and what their response is. 3 things that are told to them. The first thing, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. The first thing that was said to them is, do not do ifsad. Ifsad is the opposite of islah. Islah means to repair. Ifsad means to ruin, to spoil. Fasad is to disrupt a system that is otherwise functioning normally. So ifsad fil ard is to take the peaceful, the calm, the well-running environments of the world and strip them of that calm and that peace and disrupt them, stirring up trouble. Now there are thousands of ways in which someone can stir up trouble. Someone can stir up trouble in the financial markets. Someone can stir up trouble amongst friends, socially. Someone can stir up trouble in terms of peace and safety of the citizens. Someone can stir up trouble by causing fights with neighbors. There are so many ways to stir up trouble. These people had a little bit of all of these elements. They were doing a little bit of all. Because they're constantly going to this group with one face and this group with another face. And in order to make their own interests line up, they would be saying one thing to these people and saying another thing to those people. And by the way, it was in their interest that these 2 people never get along. It was in their interest. These people should not get along, no matter what happens. So let's continue stirring up trouble. So the first thing that was told to them was not have iman. It wasn't any of that. It was la tufsidu fil ard. Stop causing trouble. And this is important. From this, an important lesson is derived. Because after this, it's mentioned that it was told to them that why don't you just have iman, proper iman. The instruction of iman is brought second, and the instruction of stop causing trouble is brought first. So this is in line with another principle in our deen. And that is that when you have 2 things to choose from, one involves removing harm, and the other involves gaining benefit, then you always remove harm before you take the thing of benefit. Somebody has been wounded and they're bleeding, but they're also hungry. They're not starving to death, but they're hungry. Are you going to stop the flow of blood, or are you going to feed them first? Obviously, you're going to take care of that wound because they're bleeding out. And if you don't, this person's life is going to be in danger. If they stay hungry for another 15, 20 minutes, maybe another hour, they're not going to die. Their life is not in danger, but that wound is dangerous. So that's why it's termed that دفع المضرة يقدم على جلب المنفعة. To remove the harm or the harmful situation, it is more important than taking something of benefit. Now, if these people had iman, it would be something of great benefit. And it would also save them from harm. But right now, there is an immediate harm that they're causing to society. So the first instruction is stop this. Look, whatever you are, you're a Muslim, you're a non-Muslim, whatever you are, stop causing trouble in our community. Everyone should abide by some basic rules. Doesn't matter what faith they belong to. So please stop causing trouble. Look what their response was to this. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. We are the ones that are fixing things around here. They're actually damaging. They're damaging, they're spoiling, they're ruining. They're saying, no, we're the ones who fix things. We're the ones who look after everything. Look at that. So they looked at their, not only were they engaged in these activities of mischief, but they actually are telling themselves and telling society that we're doing something constructive here. We're doing something constructive. Strange. The same thing that has been said by virtually everyone in history that has carried out mass genocides, that has committed ethnic cleansing, that has wiped out settlements and entire areas of peaceful, normal human beings. People that have carried out immense acts of oppression. This is for a greater good. It's for the greater good. So not only is this person actively damaging the world and damaging society, they're also deceiving themselves and trying to deceive other people. The mantra that they keep repeating to themselves is, no, I'm fixing things. I'm sorting this out. The Quran says, "Ala innahum humul mufsiduna walakin la yash'urun." Beware, they are the true troublemakers. Mufsidun, disruptors. People causing damage. وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They don't have shu'ur of it. They don't have any sense of it. They don't have any realization of it. Now, they thought that, look, the Muslims are in one extreme and these other people are another extreme. We are the balance. We bring a balance to society. We're on good terms with these people, we're on good terms with those people. It wasn't an issue of being on good terms. In fact, it was in everyone's best interest that everyone is on good terms with everyone. But they were pretending to be like them when they were with them, and pretending to be like them when they were with them, conveying news from one side to the other, and constantly stirring up trouble and breaking their promises. So sometimes the people that are causing the greatest trouble are talking really lofty ideals, and they're saying things that in and of themselves they sound really beautiful. Bringing a balance to society, keeping the peace, and we're on good terms. It all sounds really good until you see what that looks like on the ground. What tactics they're resorting to in order to do this. أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They don't have any realization of it. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا. The second thing that's said to them, آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ. Believe. Why don't you believe? It wasn't just believe, it was, why don't you believe كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ, like these Sahaba have believed. And Nas here is referring to those Muslims that had accepted Islam from Makkah and had migrated to Medina, and all of those in Medina that had accepted Him. So this is the Iman of the Sahaba. Why don't you believe like them? Because they're the golden standard of what Iman is. So believe like them. It's just one belief, it's just one set of beliefs. It's not one thing in one instance and another thing in another instance. One set of beliefs for this group and another set of beliefs for that group. Just have one set of beliefs. Look, you have all of these people around you, these great believers around you. What is their response? أَنُؤْمِنُ كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاءُ. Should we believe like the fools have believed? So this is indicating now another aspect of that disease, and that is looking down at people, considering oneself superior, or just considering others inferior. That, those people, they don't know anything. What do they know? They're fools. They don't have the understanding of the finer points of this argument like we do. They don't understand the sensitivities like we do. And they don't have goals like ours. Our goals are much greater. We will not be satisfied with this. And why did they call them fools? They called them fools because those people migrated, they left their homes for the sake of deen, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these people gave up all their wealth to support those people. They said, look at this, what is this? We need a system in which we're earning and we're gaining and we're building wealth, not a system where we're constantly obliged to spend wealth. So they're fools. And whenever the call to Islam, the call to the deen of Allah is raised, these people come running. And they sacrifice, and they sacrifice again, they sacrifice again. And these people are fools because they're still a minority within the Arabian Peninsula. They're just a small group of them, and all of the other Arabs have not accepted this yet. So why would you put yourself in that situation where you are at odds with the majority? So for all these reasons, these people don't have sense. Safi is someone who cannot distinguish between something of value and something of no value. And this Quran is used, this word is used in the Quran in Surah An-Nisa when talking about a child who has not yet reached the age of discernment where they understand the value and the usage of wealth. وَلَا تُؤْتُوا السُّفَهَاءَ أَمْوَالَكُمْ الَّتِي جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ قِيَامًا. Why are they called Safi? Not because it should not be translated as foolish, but they lack the discernment. They're unable to tell the thing of benefit from the thing of harm, the thing of value from the thing of no value. They're unable to tell. So that's what they're not able to tell. They're not able to figure out where there is benefit and where there is harm. The Quran says, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ السُّفَهَاءُ. No, verily, beware, these are the fools. وَلَكِنْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But they don't know it. Interestingly, those who act like the most clever are, in fact, in the grander scheme of things, the most foolish ones. If their beliefs are not in the right place and their deeds are not in the right place. The third thing that is said to them, وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا. The third situation that is presented to them, and that is when they meet the people of Iman. When they meet the people of Iman, قَالُوا آمَنَّا. They say, we have believed. We are also believers. وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ. When they go in privacy, go in secrecy. Khalaw is from khalwa. When they go in secrecy towards their shayateen, towards their leaders, the leaders of the munafiqeen, or the leaders of the mushrikeen, when they go towards them, قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ. They say, we are with you. Why do they say this? Because when they go with the people of Iman greet them with salam, they want to greet them with salam, they want to ask them about them, who are you, where have you come from, and so on and so forth. So when they're put in that neutral situation, in the first two was their response to, they're being told, stop this, they're being told, you should have this kind of Iman, this was their response. The third one is in a very neutral kind of a circumstance, where they're just meeting people, and people want to know a little bit about them. So when they're with this group, they say, Amanna. When they're with the other group, قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ. They say, we are with you. They can't say Amanna. They say, we are with you. We're on your side. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. They say, yeah, but what about, we heard that you were sitting in that majlis and you were saying that you have Iman and you've accepted Iman. So they say, oh, you don't worry about that, we're just joking. We're playing with those people. Mustahzi'un. We're playing with them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allahu yastahzi'u bihim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mocking them. Istihza is to mock, to play with. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to mock them. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to mock them. Now, when there is an attribution of this type of word that normally could not be attributed towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I gave some examples like Nasullah fanasiyahum. They forgot Allah, so literally translated, so Allah forgot them, even though وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ نَسِيًّا, nisyan, forgetfulness, cannot be attributed towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So these types of things cannot be attributed directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are attributed in terms of their outcomes. The outcome of istihza is that you end up manipulating the person. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manipulates them. In other words, or what some Mufassirin have said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repays their mockery. Allah yastahzi'u. Just like if somebody was being dishonest with someone, constantly tricking, the person got onto it. They got onto it and they managed to trap that person where they were exposed. Now, this person who has been deceived all of this time, he hasn't done any deception of his own to trap them. But at the end of it, he says, so, now who's fooled who? Who's tricked who? Even though he hasn't tricked him, he's caught him in this act of trickery. He says, so, who's tricked who now? So in that sense, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala catches them, traps them, and gives them the retribution for it. So he's saying that is istihza. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will repay their mockery. وَيَمُدُّهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. And some Mufassirin have said that istihza here, Imam Fakhruddin Razi rahmatullahi alayhi says that the sigha that's used, the sigha al-mudari', it means something is happening from time to time. It happening continually. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to do this to them. And he references that verse of the Quran, أَوَلَا يَرَوْنَ أَنَّهُمْ يُفْتَنُونَ فِي كُلِّ عَامٍ مَرَّةً أَوْ مَرَّتَيْنِ. Don't they see that these trials and tribulations come every year, once or twice a major calamity strikes them? Isn't that enough for them to understand? وَيَمُدُّهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them an extension. He gives them an extension. فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ. In their rebellion, they continue to wander blindly. What is the extension? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't bring His punishment suddenly, but rather a plan starts taking place. The noose gets tighter slowly, a little bit at a time. But in that duration, they have time to either continue acting more rebellious and continue in those types of those acts of mischief and troublemaking, or they also have a chance to come back and say, no, we've been wrong, we should come to our senses, we should believe properly and leave us alone. But يَمُدُّهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. Most of the time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them that respite, gives them that extra time, they continue to progress even further in their rebelliousness. And like I said, it continues to escalate. As that marad increases, that disease increases, so do the activity, the audaciousness, and the intensity of their activities of troublemaking. They get worse and worse and worse. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes them at a time when they have crossed all limits. Tughyan literally means to go beyond limits, to go out of the set limits. The Quran uses this to describe the water in the time of Nuh alayhi salam. Inna lamma taghal ma'u. It exceeded its limits. It went out of control. This is tughyan. So these people also, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves someone alone, then often what happens is they go completely out of control. And in that state of being out of control, they're inflicted with something called amah, ya'mahun, where they start doing things, basically committing one blunder after the next. One blunder after the next. So these were some of the outcomes that were mentioned. 3 situations that these people were put in. What is their response in those 3 situations, and what are the outcomes of each response? May Allah Azza wa Jal save us from nifaq and all the attributes of nifaq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cleanse our hearts of all types of diseases and ailments and weaknesses. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya rahmatullahi alayhi says that there are three types of hearts. There's a heart that is alive, there's a heart that is dead, and there's a heart that is sick. And once somebody has a heart that is sick, then it is their responsibility to identify its type of sickness. What exactly is the sickness? What exactly is the ailment with that particular heart? And go to a tabib, like you would go to a tabib for your body, go to a tabib for your soul, and try to find out where are the weaknesses, what are the things that could possibly destroy and wipe out even all the good that a person is doing. And often the diseases of the hearts are like that, because everything is rooted from the heart. إِذَا فَسَدَتْ فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. When there is an ailment inside this heart, then it affects everything that a person does. That's why, and one of our great shuyukh, Shaykh al-Hasan rahimahullah, he used to say that look what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about kibr. لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من الكبر. A person who has a speck of kibr is not going to enter into Jannah. They'll have to go to the other place, they'll have to be burned out of them. So stern about this disease of the heart, and kibr is a disease of the heart. But look in the other hadith of Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu, that he asked Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam about a person who committed major sins, that will this person enter into Jannah? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him that person who believes in La ilaha illallah is going to enter into Jannah. So Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu asked him, وَإِن زَنَا وَإِن سَرَقَ? Even if this person fornicated, even if they stole, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَإِن زَنَا وَإِن سَرَقَ. Then he asked him the second time, وَإِن زَنَا وَإِن سَرَقَ? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَإِن زَنَا وَإِن سَرَقَ. Then he asked him the third time. So the Prophet ﷺ said, yes, وَإِن زَنَا وَإِن سَرَقَ عَلَى رَغْمِ أَنْفِ أَبِي ذَرٍ. Even if Abu Dharr doesn't want him to go into Jannah, still that guy is going to go into Jannah one day. And those are major, major sins. But those are sins that are, yes, they're also rooted in some disease of the heart, but these are physical sins. They're sins of the body. And there is a sin that is purely in the heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to let it go. So the sickness of the heart is not just something that has to do with disbelief. Disbelief is one major sickness of the heart. Kufr and shirk are major diseases of the heart. They're not the only diseases. There are many that all of us can be inflicted with. Various strains of those bacteria and various intensities of those diseases. It's our responsibility to cleanse it before we leave this world. That's why on the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. Neither is a person's assets and wealth going to be of any use, nor are their children, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. But a person who comes to Allah with that heart that has been cleansed. This is the heart from which those diseases have been removed. That's the only thing that's going to help a person. So should we not focus our energies, channel our resources on this before we leave this dunya? May Allah Azza wa Jal give us tawfiq. والله ولي ذلك والقادر عليه وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.